She's still breathing, Colt screamed into the fog, his voice cracked. 20 Harleys died at once. In the ravine below, a pregnant woman lay twisted beside a burning car. Her wedding dress was soaked red. One hand gripped her swollen belly. The other reached toward them, trembling, desperate. "Help me," she whispered. "He's coming back to finish it." Before we continue this incredible story, tell us where in the world you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. And if you want to see how this pregnant widow survives, subscribe now and stay until the very end. This story will change how you see strangers forever. Colt Brennan was the first off his bike. His boots hit gravel before the engine stopped screaming. 47 years old, president of the Iron Wolves MC for 12 of them, and he'd seen death wear every mask it owned. Car wrecks, overdoses, brothers bleeding out on barroom floors. But this was different. This was a woman in a wedding dress, 8 months pregnant, crawling through mud and glass toward the sound of motorcycles. "Priest, get down here!" Colt slid down the embankment rocks, tearing at his jeans. "Now." The woman's eyes found his. Green. Terrified. Fighting to stay open. "Please," she breathed. "My baby." "I got you." Colt dropped to his knees beside her. "I got you both. What's your name?" "Elena." Blood bubbled at the corner of her lip. "Elena Marsh." "Elena, I'm Colt. Can you tell me what happened?" "Victor." Her fingers dug into his forearm with desperate strength. "My husband. He did this. He drove us off. Said he needed me dead for the money." Colt's jaw locked. Priest came sliding down, already pulling off his cut to cover her. Former defense attorney disbarred for breaking a prosecutor's nose, now the club's voice of reason and unreason both. "Jesus Christ," Priest muttered. "She's going into labor." "No." Elena grabbed Priest's wrist. "No, it's too early. 7 weeks too early. Please." "We need to move her," Priest said. "Mercy Ridge is 20 minutes if we push it." "She won't make 20 minutes in the van." Colt looked up at the road. 18 brothers stood at the edge, waiting. "We go now. Straight through. The cops can write me a ticket at the hospital." Colt lifted Elena as gently as he'd ever held anything. "You hear me? You're going to be okay. Your baby's going to be okay. I need you to believe that." Elena's hand found his chest, right over his heart. "Why?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." "Don't need to." He carried her up the embankment. The brothers parted. Butcher, the biggest man in the club, had already cleared the chase van. Priest climbed in beside her medical kit, open hands, moving fast. "Colt." Elena's voice was fading. "He said no one would believe me. He said he owns this town." "Who's he?" "Judge Marsh." Her eyes fluttered. "Victor's father. They own everyone." The name hit Colt like a fist. Judge Warren Marsh, the man who'd sentenced Colt's younger brother to 15 years for a crime he didn't commit. The man who'd looked Colt in the eye and smiled while doing it. "Yeah," Colt said quietly. "I know who he is." He slammed the van door and mounted his bike. "We ride," his voice echoed through the fog. "Anyone gets in our way, they move, or we go through them. This woman lives. Her baby lives. Questions later." 20 engines roared to life. The convoy tore through the night like a promise with teeth. Mercy Ridge Hospital sat on the edge of town like a fortress for the dying. Colt had been here too many times. Never for anything good. The convoy screamed into the emergency bay at 2:47 a.m. Nurses scattered, then froze when they saw the patches. Iron Wolves. the club that half the county called criminals and the other half called saints, depending on who was bleeding. Colt jumped off his bike before it stopped rolling. "Pregnant woman trauma. She needs help now." A nurse stepped forward, face tight with judgment. "Sir, you can't just— Lady, there's a woman in that van who's about to have a baby 7 weeks early because her husband drove her off a cliff. You can hate my patch later. Right now, you do your job." Something in his voice broke through. The nurse turned, shouting orders. A gurney appeared. Priest helped transfer Elena, never stopping the pressure on her wound. 32 weeks, Priest rattled off. Blunt force trauma to the abdomen and chest. Suspected placental abruption. BP dropping. She's been conscious but fading. The trauma team took over Elena, disappearing through double doors. Colt tried to follow. A security guard stepped in front of him. "Family only past this point. I'm the reason she's alive. Doesn't make you family." Colt's hands curled into fists. Priest grabbed his shoulder. "Not here, brother. Not like this." The doors swung shut. Colt stood there, blood on his hands, blood on his cut, staring at the small window that showed nothing but empty hallway. "Colt." Priest's voice was low. "She said Judge Marsh." "I heard. That's not coincidence. That's not random." "I know. So what do we do?" Colt turned. His brothers had filled the waiting room. 18 men in leather, scarred and silent, drawing stares from everyone present. "We wait," Colt said, "and we find out exactly who tried to kill that woman." 3 hours passed. The waiting room emptied and filled again. Coffee machine hummed. Fluorescent lights buzzed. The brothers took shifts, some smoking outside, others watching the doors. Colt didn't move. At 5:52 a.m., a doctor appeared. Young, exhausted, her scrubs spotted with things Colt didn't want to name. "Family for Elena Marsh." Colt stood. "How is she?" "Are you— I'm the one who found her. I'm the one who brought her here. I'm the one who's going to make sure whoever did this answers for it. How is she?" The doctor hesitated. Then something in his eyes made her decide. "She's stable. Fractured ribs, collapsed lung, significant blood loss. We had to perform an emergency C-section." The doctor paused. "The baby is alive. A girl, 3 pounds, 2 ounces. She's in the NICU. It's going to be touch and go for a while. But she's breathing. She's fighting. That's all I can tell you." Colt exhaled. He didn't realize he'd been holding his breath. "Can I see her, Elena?" "She's asking for you." The doctor's voice softened. "She won't stop asking for the man who saved her." Priest stepped forward. "I'll hold the room." Colt followed the doctor through the doors. Elena looked smaller in the hospital bed. Tubes and wires. Monitors beeping steady rhythms. Her eyes were closed, but they opened when his boots stopped at the door. "You came back," she whispered. "Told you I would." "People say things." Her voice cracked. "They don't mean them." Colt pulled a chair close, sat down heavy. "I mean what I say. It's a rule I got." "Your club." She looked at his cut. "Iron wolves. I've heard stories. Most of them lies. Are you dangerous?" "To people who deserve it." Her hand found his. Cold fingers, weak grip, but holding on like he was the only solid thing in the world. "Victor will come," she said. "He thinks I'm dead. When he finds out I'm not, he'll come. And he'll bring his father's power with him. Let him. You don't understand. Judge Marsh runs this county. Police courts, city council. Everyone owes him something. Everyone's afraid. I'm not. You should be. Maybe. Colt leaned forward. But here's what I know. You're alive. Your daughter's alive. And as long as both of those things are true, I'm going to make sure they stay that way. Why? Tears slipped down her temples. I'm nobody to you. You're somebody who needed help and didn't get it. That makes you exactly the right person. A monitor beeped. Elena's breath caught. I want to see her. My baby. I haven't even held her. You will. What if I don't? Her voice broke completely. What if she doesn't make it? What if this was all for nothing? Colt thought about his brother. 15 years in a cell for something he didn't do. The way hope could curdle into poison when it had nowhere to go. She's going to make it, he said. Because she's got you for a mother. And right now you got 18 men outside ready to burn down anyone who tries to hurt either of you. That's not nothing. That's a whole lot of something. Elena's grip tightened. I don't even know you. Give it time. Outside the room, footsteps echoed. Heavy, purposeful. Colt's head turned. Through the glass, he saw them coming. 2 uniforms. A man in an expensive suit. And behind them, walking like he owned the air itself, Victor Marsh. Alive. Uninjured. Already performing grief. That's him, Elena breathed. That's my husband. Victor's eyes swept the hallway. Found the room. Found Colt. And smiled. Where is my wife? Victor Marsh pushed through the doors like he belonged there. Tall, handsome in a way that made Colt's skin crawl. The kind of face that got away with things because people wanted to believe it couldn't do wrong. The deputy beside him stepped forward. Sir, I need to see my wife. Victor's voice cracked. Perfect. Rehearsed. I just heard about the accident. I've been looking for her all night. Please. The nurse from before appeared. The one who'd tried to stop Colt. Mr. Marsh, your wife is in critical condition. She's awake. Victor's mask slipped for half a second. Something cold underneath. I need to see her. I need to tell her I'm here. Sir, she's not ready for visitors. I'm not a visitor. I'm her husband. Colt stepped out of Elena's room. Victor stopped. Their eyes met. You, Victor said. You're the biker who found her. I'm the biker who saved her. From you. The air changed. The deputies shifted. I don't know what she told you. Victor's voice dripped with wounded sincerity. But my wife has a history of instability. She took our car, drove off in the middle of the night. I've been terrified something like this would happen. That's not what she said. She's confused. Traumatized. Pregnant women can... She said you drove her off that road. Colt stepped closer. She said you needed her dead for insurance money. Victor's jaw tightened. That's insane. Is it... Deputy? Victor turned. This man is harassing me during a family emergency. I want him removed. The deputy hesitated. Looked at Colt. Looked at Victor. Then made his choice. Sir, I'm going to need you to step back. Colt didn't move. You're going to believe him, Colt said. Just like that. She's in there with broken ribs and a collapsed lung, and you're going to believe him. I'm going to ask you to leave the premises. And if I don't... The deputy's hand moved to his belt. Priest appeared in the hallway. Butcher behind him. And behind them more patches. More brothers. Moving silent as wolves. There a problem? Priest asked. No problem, Colt said. Just having a conversation about truth. Victor's smile returned. Smaller now. Sharper. Gentlemen, I don't want any trouble. I just want to see my wife and my child. Surely you can understand that. Your wife doesn't want to see you. She's not in a state to make that decision. She seemed pretty clear to me. And who are you? Victor stepped forward. Her attorney? Her doctor? No. You're a thug in a leather jacket who happened to be on the same road. This is family business. Stay out of it. Colt felt his blood cooling, going quiet, the way it did before things got ugly. Here's what's going to happen. He kept his voice level. You're going to walk out of this hospital. You're going to stay away from that woman and that baby. And if I find out you come within 100 feet of either of them, I'm going to make sure the conversation we have doesn't involve witnesses. Victor's eyes flickered. Is that a threat? It's a fact. The deputy stepped between them. All right, that's enough. Both of you. Sir. He looked at Victor. Your wife needs rest. Come back during visiting hours tomorrow. And you, he turned to Colt. I'm giving you 5 minutes to clear this hallway. Or what? Or I start making arrests. Priest's hand found Colt's shoulder. Not here, he murmured. Not yet. Colt held Victor's gaze for one more moment. We're not done. No, Victor straightened his suit. We're not. He turned and walked away. The deputies followed. At the end of the hallway, Victor looked back once, still smiling. Colt watched until he disappeared. That man is a murderer, he said quietly. I know, Priest replied. But right now he's a murderer with friends in high places. We need proof. Then we get proof. How? Colt looked at Elena's door. We start with why. Insurance money, that's what she said. Find out how much Victor Marsh stands to gain from his wife's death. And the baby, heir to whatever Elena owns. If she's out of the picture, Victor controls everything. Priest nodded slowly. I'll make some calls. I still know people. Do it fast, because that man isn't going to wait. Elena was asleep when Colt returned to her room. Sedatives pulling her under monitors, keeping watch. He sat in the chair by her bed. 3 hours ago, he'd been riding back from a funeral. A brother named Dex, who'd died of cancer at 52, refusing treatment because he wanted to go out on his own terms. Now this. A woman who'd been left for dead by the man who promised to love her. A baby fighting for every breath. And a judge's son who thought money and power made him untouchable. Colt had been fighting untouchable men his whole life. He'd lost more than he'd won. But every once in a while, the right moment came along. The moment when standing up wasn't just stubborn, it was necessary. When walking away meant letting the darkness win. This was one of those moments. Elena stirred. You're still here, she murmured. Got nowhere else to be. Liar, a ghost of a smile. You have a whole life. This is my life, this right here, helping people who need it. You don't even know if I'm telling the truth. I know what I saw in that ditch. I know what I saw in his eyes. Colt leaned forward. And I know the kind of man who throws his pregnant wife out of a car. I've met that man before, wearing different faces, but always the same underneath. Elena was quiet for a long moment. My mother told me not to marry him. Her voice was far away. She said his smile didn't reach his eyes. I thought she was being dramatic. Mothers usually aren't. She died 6 months after the wedding. Heart attack. But I think she just gave up. Couldn't stand watching what was happening to me. What was happening? The usual? Elena's eyes focused on the ceiling. Small things at first. Criticism disguised as concern. Isolation disguised as protection. Then it got worse. He never hit me where anyone could see, but the marks were always there. Did you tell anyone? Who would I tell? His father owns the police. His mother runs half the charities in town. Everyone loves the Marsh family. They're pillars of the community. Her laugh was bitter broken. I was just the unstable wife, the one who made things up, the one who couldn't be trusted. I trust you. Why? Because you didn't give up. Colt's voice roughened. You crawled through glass and mud with a baby inside you. You reached for strangers because you knew the people who should have helped never would. That takes more strength than most men I know. Tears slipped down her face. I don't feel strong. Doesn't matter how you feel. Matters what you do. A knock at the door. Priest stepped in, face grim. We got a problem. Which one? All of them. Priest closed the door. Victor filed a police report 3 hours before the accident. Claims Elena stole his car, was intoxicated, and left after a violent argument. That's a lie. Doesn't matter. It's documented. And it gets worse. Priest pulled out his phone. Judge Marsh just issued an emergency custody order. If that baby survives, she's going to Victor. Elena's being evaluated for psychiatric hold. Elena sat up, gasping. No, they can't. They're doing it. Priest's jaw tightened. Judge signed it 20 minutes ago. Hospital has until noon to comply. Colt stood. Then we have until noon to stop it. How? I don't know yet. He looked at Elena. But I'm not letting him take your daughter. You hear me? That's not happening. Elena's hand found his. He'll destroy you. His family destroys everyone who gets in their way. Good. Colt squeezed her fingers. I've been looking for something to fight for. Outside, dawn was breaking. And somewhere in the city, Victor Marsh was already making his next move. Colt's phone buzzed at 6:15 a.m. Unknown number. He answered anyway. Mr. Brennan? The voice was smooth, cultured, dripping with the kind of confidence that came from decades of never hearing the word no. This is Warren Marsh. I believe you've met my son. Colt stepped into the hallway away from Elena's door. I've met what's left of him after you bought his conscience. Colorful. I can see why my daughter-in-law found you appealing. A pause. Deliberate. Yes, I know she's been talking to you. I know everything that happens in this county. It's my job to know. Your job is sitting on a bench and pretending the law means something. My job is maintaining order, something your club has never understood. Judge Marsh's voice hardened. I'm going to make this simple. Walk away. Take your men and leave Mercy Ridge. What happens to Elena and the child is family business. It doesn't concern you. She's lying in a hospital bed because your son tried to kill her. That concerns me plenty. She's lying in a hospital bed because she's mentally unstable and drove herself off a cliff. That's the official finding. That's what the evidence will show. That's what the court will conclude. The court you control. The court that maintains order. Marsh's tone shifted, almost friendly now. I'm not an unreasonable man. You have businesses, properties, brothers with families. It would be a shame if any of that faced scrutiny. Are you threatening me? I'm offering perspective. Elena has always been troubled. Victor has been patient, supportive, devoted. This episode is tragic, but not unexpected. She needs treatment, not enablers. The baby needs a stable home with her father, not a mother who can't be trusted. And if I don't walk away, then I'll dismantle everything you've built. License by license, property by property, brother by brother. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Marsh paused. Ask around about the Demon King's MC. They operated in this county 15 years ago. They don't exist anymore. I made sure of it. Colt remembered the Demon Kings, remembered hearing how they'd been crushed by raids, arrests, and legal pressure until nothing remained but scattered men with haunted eyes. You're proud of that, Colt said quietly. I'm effective. There's a difference. Here's the difference between us, Judge. You think power means people can't touch you. I think power means protecting people who can't protect themselves. So no, I'm not walking away. Your son tried to murder his pregnant wife. She's going to tell the world what he did. And when she does, all the robes and gavels in the world won't save your family's name." Silence on the line. When Marsh spoke again, the smoothness was gone. "You just made the worst decision of your life. Wouldn't be the first time." The line went dead. Colt stared at his phone for a long moment. Then he walked back to Elena's room. Priest was waiting. "Judge Marsh? How'd you know?" "Because Victor just pulled up downstairs with 2 lawyers and a camera crew." Priest's face was tight. "They're doing a press conference in the lobby. Grieving husband pleads for access to his injured wife. He's performing. He's winning. Right now he's winning." Colt moved to the window, looked down at the parking lot. News vans, reporters gathering. Victor in a fresh suit, eyes red from manufactured tears. "We need to get her out of here." "How she's got a collapsed lung and a baby in NICU. She can't be moved." "Then we buy time." Colt turned. "The custody order, noon deadline. What happens if we file something?" "I'm disbarred. I can't file anything." "But you know people who can." Priest hesitated. "There's a woman. Sarah Chen. Public defender, but she's got spine. She took on a Marsh family case 5 years ago. Lost, but she didn't back down. Call her. It's 6 in the morning. Then wake her up." Colt grabbed Priest's shoulder. "Noon. That's what we've got. After that, they take the baby and lock Elena in a psych ward. You want to explain to that woman why we didn't try everything?" Priest pulled out his phone. Elena's voice came from the bed, weak but alert. "He's really doing this. Victor's really going to take my daughter." Colt sat beside her. "Not if I can stop it." "You can't stop them. No one stops them." Her eyes were hollow. "I watched him destroy people. Business partners who crossed him. Women who tried to leave. He just erases them. Slowly, completely, until no one remembers they existed. He's never met me. He's met men like you. They all thought they could fight." She grabbed his hand. "Please, I don't want anyone else hurt because of me. It's not because of you. It's because of him. You didn't create this evil. You survived it. That's different." A knock at the door. Butcher leaned in, face grim. "Boss? We got company. Hospital security wants us out. Says we're causing a disturbance. We're sitting in a waiting room. Victor's lawyers are claiming intimidation. Hospital administrator's folding." Colt stood. "Where is he?" "The administrator." "3rd floor, corner office." "Stay with her." Colt pointed at Elena. "Nobody gets in this room. Nobody." He headed for the elevator. Richard Dunn was a small man with expensive glasses and the nervous energy of someone who'd spent his life avoiding conflict. He looked up when Colt walked in without knocking, and his face went pale. "Mr. Brennan, this is highly irregular." "Yeah, I know." Colt closed the door. "Let's talk about what's really irregular. A man tries to kill his wife. She survives. Now he's in your lobby with cameras playing victim while you're trying to throw out the people who saved her life. That's not. The situation is complicated. Mrs. Marsh has a documented history of being abused by her husband while everyone looked the other way. How much did Judge Marsh donate to this hospital last year?" Dunn's mouth opened, closed. "I thought so." Colt stepped closer. "Here's what's going to happen. My people stay. Elena Marsh stays protected. And you start documenting every injury she came in with, every bruise that wasn't from the crash, every mark that tells the real story. I can't. There are procedures. The woman downstairs has broken ribs from being kicked. a collapsed lung from impact that happened before the car went off the road. Bruises on her arms shaped like fingers. Your doctors have seen it. Your nurses have photographed it. The question is whether any of that evidence survives when Judge Marsh's people come asking for records. Dunn's hands were shaking. You don't understand the position I'm in. I understand perfectly. You're scared. Everyone's scared of the Marsh family, but here's the thing about fear. It only works if everyone stays quiet. The moment one person talks, the whole thing cracks. Colt leaned in. I'm not asking you to be a hero. I'm asking you to be a witness. Keep those records safe. That's all. Can you do that? Dunn stared at him for a long moment. If anyone finds out, they won't. Not until it matters. Why? Dunn's voice cracked. Why do you even care? You don't know this woman. I know what it's like to watch someone get crushed by a system that's supposed to protect them. My brother spent 15 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Judge Marsh sentenced him, smiled while he did it, said he was making an example. Colt's voice went quiet. My brother died 3 years into that sentence. Killed himself because he couldn't take another decade of paying for something he didn't do. Dunn's face changed. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be useful. Colt straightened. Keep those records. And when the time comes, be ready to tell the truth. He walked out before Dunn could respond. In the elevator, Colt's phone buzzed. Priest. Sarah Chen's on her way. She's pissed about the hour, but she's coming. Good. What else? Ran Victor's finances like you asked. Brother, you're not going to believe this. Try me. Elena has a trust fund. Family money from her mother's side. $37 million locked until she turns 35. That's 8 months from now. Colt went still. If she dies, husband inherits as next of kin. If there's a child, husband becomes trustee until the child reaches majority. Either way, Victor controls the money. And the baby? Here's where it gets ugly. Elena changed her will 6 months ago, cut Victor out, left everything to the child with an independent trustee. Someone named Marcus Webb, her mother's attorney. Victor knows about this. Had to. She filed it publicly. It's why he waited until she was this far along. Baby survives. He gets custody. He controls $37 million. Baby dies with Elena. He inherits directly. Priest's voice was heavy. Either way, she was never meant to walk away from that crash. Colt stepped off the elevator. The lobby was chaos. Reporters swarming. Victor at the center, tears streaming, voice breaking as he talked about his beloved wife, his unborn child, his desperate hope that the strangers who'd found her hadn't filled her head with lies. She's fragile, Victor was saying. She's always been fragile. I've done everything I could to support her, but the pregnancy made things worse. I blame myself for not seeing the signs. A reporter pushed forward. Mr. Marsh, there are claims your wife was actually claims made by criminals. Victor's voice hardened just enough to show the steel beneath the tears. The Iron Wolves MC has a history of violence and intimidation. They're using my wife's trauma to attack my family. I don't know why. I just want her back. I want to hold my daughter. Colt watched from the hallway. Priest appeared beside him. He's good. He's had practice. What do? We find Marcus Webb. Colt turned away from the spectacle. Elena's mother trusted him. Maybe we can too. 3 hours until noon. 3 hours until they took the baby. The clock was running. Sarah Chen was small, fierce, and looked like she hadn't slept in days even before Priest woke her up. She listened to everything without interrupting, took notes in handwriting so tight it looked like code, and didn't flinch when Colt told her who they were up against. Judge Marsh has been dirty for 30 years, she said when he finished. Everyone knows it. No one can prove it. He's too careful, too connected. Can you stop the custody order? I can file an emergency motion. challenge the jurisdiction, the process, the underlying claims. Buy you time. She looked at Elena, who'd been wheeled into a small conference room for privacy. But I need her to sign, and I need her to be willing to testify. I'll testify. Elena's voice was stronger now. I'll tell everyone what he did. It's going to be brutal. They'll attack your credibility, your mental health, your history. They'll say you're a liar, an addict, a danger to your own child. I'm none of those things. Doesn't matter what you are. Matters what they can make people believe. Sarah leaned forward. Are you absolutely certain you want to fight this? Because once we start, there's no going back. The Marsh family will come at you with everything they have. Elena looked at Colt. Something passed between them. I spent 5 years being told I was crazy, Elena said quietly. 5 years believing I deserved what happened. 5 years thinking no one would ever believe me. She turned to Sarah. I don't care what they say about me. I care about my daughter growing up knowing her mother fought for her. File the motion. Sarah nodded once. I'll need an hour. She left. Priest exhaled. This is actually happening. It's been happening since we found her in that ditch. Colt checked his watch. 2 hours until noon. Where's Marcus Webb? Working on it. Old guy, semi-retired. Lives outside Westbrook, about 40 minutes from here. Get someone there, now. On it. Priest headed for the door, then stopped. Colt, if this goes wrong, it won't. But if it does, the club, the brothers, we could lose everything. We could. Colt met his eyes. But some things are worth losing everything for. This is one of them. Priest held his gaze, then nodded. I'll make the calls. He left. Elena was watching Colt. Your brother, she said. The one Judge Marsh sentenced. What was his name? Danny. The name caught in Colt's throat. Daniel Brennan. He was 23. What happened to him? Really? He was dating a girl. Wrong girl turned out. She was connected to the Marsh family, some cousin something like that. They had a fight. Normal couple stuff. She went to her family, said Danny hit her. He didn't. I know he didn't. But Judge Marsh made sure the case went his way. Danny got 15 years for assault and battery that never happened. And he died in prison. 3 years in. They said it was suicide, but Colt's voice trailed off. Danny was strong. Strongest person I knew. He wouldn't have given up, not like that. You think they killed him? I think the Marsh family has been killing people for 30 years and calling it justice. Colt looked at her. That's why I'm not walking away. Not because I'm a hero, because this is unfinished. Because Danny deserved someone to fight for him the way I'm fighting for you. Elena reached out, took his hand. Then we'll fight together. 11:45. The motion was filed. Sarah Chen had worked some kind of legal miracle, tying the custody order up in procedural challenges that would take days to resolve. The noon deadline came and went, with Victor's lawyers screaming objections into phones, and Judge Marsh notably silent. But it wasn't over. It was barely beginning. Victor appeared at Elena's door an hour later, flanked by hospital security. I have a right to see my wife. Butcher blocked the entrance. She doesn't want to see you. That's not her decision to make. She's been declared mentally incompetent by court order. Court order got challenged. Check with your lawyers. Victor's mask slipped. Just for a second. Just long enough for Colt to see the rage beneath. You're making a mistake. Victor stepped closer to Butcher. All of you. You think you're helping her, but you're making everything worse. When this is over, and it will be over, I'm going to remember every face, every name, Every single person who stood between me and my family. Colt stepped into the doorway. Good. Then you'll remember me. Their eyes met. Brennan. Victor smiled, cold and sharp. My father told me about you. About your brother. Tragic story. Weak man couldn't handle consequences. Seems to run in the family. Colt felt his hands curl into fists. Walk away, now. Or what, you'll hit me. Please do. I've got cameras on every corner of this floor. One swing and you're done. Assault charges. Your club gets raided. Elena loses her only protection. Victor leaned in. See, that's the difference between us. I plan. You react. And reacting always loses. You tried to kill her. Prove it. I will. With what? Her word against mine. A woman with documented mental illness against a loving husband with the support of his entire community. Victor shook his head. You've already lost. You just don't know it yet. He turned and walked away, security following. Colt watched him go. Elena's voice came from behind him. He's right. It's my word against his, and his word has always won. Colt didn't turn around. Not this time. How can you be sure? He was quiet for a moment. Because we're going to find proof. Something he can't talk his way out of. What kind of proof? Colt finally turned. The car, the one you went off the road in. Where is it? Impound, probably. Police towed it. Victor reported you as driving. Drunk, erratic, alone. But you weren't driving. He was. I was in the passenger seat. He unbuckled me before he... She stopped, the memory hitting her. Before he pushed me out. Then there's evidence. Seat position. Airbag deployment. Steering wheel fingerprints. Something that proves who was really behind the wheel. Colt pulled out his phone. Priest, I need you to find out where they're keeping that car. County impound, probably. Why? Because that car is going to prove Victor was driving. And when it does, his whole story falls apart. Colt, if they know what we're looking for, they'll destroy it. Then we need to get there first. That's a felony. So is attempted murder. Colt looked at Elena. So is buying judges and burying evidence and killing people who get in your way. Sometimes you have to break the law to expose a bigger crime. Priest was silent for a moment. I'll find the car. But brother, if we're wrong about this, we're not wrong. He hung up. Elena was staring at him. You could go to prison for this. Wouldn't be the first time. He almost smiled. But I'd rather fight and lose than watch another innocent person get destroyed by people who think they're above consequences. Outside, the sun was setting. Somewhere in the city, Victor Marsh was already making his next move. And in the impound lot on the edge of town, a crushed sedan held secrets that could bring down an empire or bury everyone who tried to find them. The impound lot sat 3 miles outside town, surrounded by chain link and razor wire. Priest had done his homework, one guard on night shift cameras that hadn't worked in 6 months, and a gate lock that could be picked by anyone with patience and steady hands. Colt had both. This is insane, Butcher muttered, crouched beside him in the darkness. We get caught, it's breaking and entering. Evidence tampering. Every charge they can think of. Then we don't get caught. The lock clicked open. They moved through rows of wrecked vehicles, flashlights cutting narrow paths through the dark. Colt counted the tags until he found it a silver sedan, crushed on the passenger side, still wearing the scars of its plunge into the ravine. Elena's blood was still on the dashboard. Jesus, Butcher breathed. Colt pulled on gloves. Start documenting. Photos of everything. Seat positions, airbag deployment, steering wheel pedals. Everything. What am I looking for? Proof that she wasn't driving. They worked fast. Butcher's phone camera flashed in the darkness while Colt examined the interior. Driver's seat pushed back too far for Elena's height. Steering wheel airbag deployed, but no blood on it. Passenger airbag had blood. Elena's blood. And on the steering wheel, clear as day, fingerprints in the dust. Colt. Butcher's voice was strange. You need to see this. He was pointing at the brake pedal. Colt leaned in. The pedal was crushed, bent at an angle that shouldn't have been possible from impact alone. Someone had tampered with it. Recently. They sabotaged the brakes, Colt said quietly. He didn't just push her out. He made sure the car wouldn't stop. That's premeditated murder. That's Victor Marsh. A sound from outside. Footsteps on gravel. Both men froze. Someone's coming, Butcher whispered. Colt killed his flashlight. They pressed against the side of a wrecked truck, barely breathing. The footsteps grew closer. Then a voice familiar cold. I know you're here, Brennan. Victor. Colt's hand moved to his sidearm. My father has friends everywhere. You think a county impound lot doesn't have eyes? Victor's footsteps stopped. Come out. Let's talk like civilized men. Silence. No, fine. Let me tell you what happens next. In about 3 minutes, Sheriff Garrison is going to arrive with 4 deputies. They're going to arrest you for trespassing and evidence tampering, and this time there won't be a lawyer who can save you. Colt looked at Butcher. Made a decision. He stepped out of the shadows. Victor. There you are. Victor smiled, his face pale in the moonlight. I have to admit I'm impressed. Most people would have walked away by now, but you keep pushing. Your wife told me what you did. My wife is mentally ill. Everyone knows it. Then explain the brakes. Colt stepped closer. Someone cut the brake lines on that car, made sure it wouldn't stop. That's not an accident. That's murder. Victor's smile flickered. You have no idea what you're talking about. I think I do. I think you planned this for months. Waited until Elena was far enough along that the baby would survive. Then you staged an accident that would kill her and leave you with everything, the money, the child, the sympathy. That's a fascinating theory. It's not a theory. It's evidence. Evidence you obtained illegally. Victor spread his hands. Even if everything you just said was true, and it isn't, none of it would be admissible. You broke into a secured facility. You tampered with a crime scene. Any lawyer would have it thrown out in minutes. Then I'll find another way. There is no other way. Victor stepped forward. That's what you don't understand. My family built this town. We own the police, the courts, the hospital, the newspapers. There is no corner of this county where our influence doesn't reach. You can't beat us. No one can. Sirens in the distance. That's your ride, Victor said. Last chance. Walk away now, and I'll tell the sheriff this was a misunderstanding. Stay, and you'll spend the next decade in a cell just like your brother. Colt's fists clenched. Don't talk about my brother. Why not? He was weak, couldn't handle the pressure, took the easy way out. Victor leaned in. You know what I remember most about his case? How my father laughed about it at dinner. Said it was too easy. Said the Brennan family had no spine. Something snapped in Colt. He moved before he could stop himself, fist connecting with Victor's jaw, sending him sprawling. Victor hit the ground hard. Then he smiled. Got you. Headlights flooded the lot. 4 sheriff's vehicles. Deputies pouring out with weapons drawn. Down on the ground, hands where we can see them. Butcher dropped immediately. Colt stood frozen, staring at Victor, who was already on his phone, blood on his lip, voice dripping with fake distress. Yes, I need to report an assault. He attacked me. I was trying to reason with him and he just... Colt! Butcher's voice. Get down! A deputy tackled him from behind. His face hit gravel. Handcuffs bit into his wrists. Victor stood over him, still on the phone. Yes, I want to press charges. Full charges. He looked down at Colt. I told you this would happen. I told you and you didn't listen. They dragged Colt to his feet. Take him to county, Sheriff Garrison said. Book him for assault, trespassing, and evidence tampering. Let's see how tough he is after a night in holding. What about the evidence? Colt shouted. The brakes were cut. Someone tampered with that car. The only person who tampered with anything is you. Garrison shoved him toward a cruiser. Move. Colt looked back once. Victor was watching phone still pressed to his ear, smiling like a man who had already won. The cell was cold, concrete and steel. Colt had been here before, not this exact cell, but places like it. The smell of disinfectant and despair never changed. They'd taken his phone, his belt, his boots, left him in a holding tank with nothing but time and the echo of his own thoughts. 3 hours passed. Then a guard appeared. Brennan, you got a visitor. They led him to an interrogation room. Sitting at the table was a man he didn't recognize, gray-haired, weathered, wearing a suit that had seen better decades. Mr. Brennan, I'm Marcus Webb. Colt stopped. Elena's mother's attorney. The same. Webb gestured to the chair across from him. Sit down. We don't have much time. Colt sat. How did you know I was here? Priest called me, told me everything. Webb folded his hands. I've been waiting 30 years for someone to take on the Marsh family. I never thought it would be a biker with a death wish. I'm not trying to die. Then stop acting like it. Webb's eyes were sharp despite his age. You punched Victor, on camera, in front of witnesses. Do you have any idea what you've done? He provoked me. Of course he did. That's what they do. They push until you break, then they use the brake against you. Webb shook his head. I've watched them destroy a dozen good people with that exact playbook. I thought you'd be smarter. I watched him smile about my brother's death. Webb was quiet for a moment. Danny Brennan. Yes, I remember that case. His voice softened. Your brother didn't kill himself, Mr. Brennan. He was killed by an inmate paid by the Marsh family to make a problem go away. I've always suspected it, but I could never prove it. Colt felt the blood drain from his face. You knew. I suspected. There's a difference. Webb leaned forward. But now we might have a chance to prove all of it. Not just what happened to Elena. Everything. The corruption, the cover-ups, the murders, all of it. How? Because you're not the only one who's been gathering evidence. Webb pulled a folder from his briefcase. I've spent 3 decades documenting the Marsh family's crimes. Witnesses who disappeared. Cases that were buried. Money that changed hands. It's not enough to convict, but it's enough to get attention. What kind of attention? Federal attention. Webb smiled thinly. I have a contact at the FBI, field office in Richmond. She's been looking for an excuse to investigate Judge Marsh for years. The problem was never evidence, it was jurisdiction. State crimes, state courts. The Marsh family controlled everything. And now we have Elena, a victim willing to testify, a baby whose life is in danger, and physical evidence of attempted murder evidence that Victor doesn't know you photographed before you got arrested. Colt's heart skipped. The photos. Priest has them. He uploaded them to a secure server before anyone could confiscate his phone. The pictures of the brake lines, the seat positions, the fingerprints, all of it. That's still inadmissible. Inadmissible in state court, but federal investigators can use it as a starting point. If they open an investigation, they can examine the car themselves, legally. And once they see what you saw, they'll have grounds for a full corruption probe. Colt stared at him. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what's at stake. Webb's voice hardened. If you cooperate with the FBI, we can bring down the entire Marsh family. Not just Victor, all of them. The judge, the sheriff, everyone who's been protecting them. But if you lose your temper again, if you give them another excuse to lock you away, it's over. They win. Just like they've won for 30 years. What do you need from me? I need you to survive the next 48 hours. That's how long it will take for my FBI contact to get authorization for an investigation. In the meantime, Victor is going to try everything to provoke you, to get you to lash out again. You cannot give him that. And Elena, Sarah Chen has her protected for now. The custody order is frozen while the courts sort out jurisdiction. But if something happens to you, if they can paint you as the violent criminal they're claiming you are, Elena loses her only ally, her only protection. Colt leaned back. 48 hours. That's all I'm asking. And then, Webb's smile was cold and satisfied. Then we make them pay for everything they've done. They released Colt at dawn. Victor's assault charges were being held pending review. Someone had pointed out that Victor had followed Colt to the impound lot, which suggested premeditation on his part, not Colt's. It wasn't a dismissal, but it was enough to get him out. Priest was waiting in the parking lot. You look like hell. Feel worse? Colt climbed onto the back of Priest's bike. Take me to the hospital. Elena's not there anymore. Colt's blood went cold. What? She's at the clubhouse. We moved her last night after you got arrested. Figured the hospital wasn't safe anymore. The baby, still in NICU. That's the problem. Priest started the engine. Victor can't get to Elena, so he's going after the child. Filing motions, making demands. He's trying to force a transfer to a private facility his family controls. Can he do that? Sarah's fighting it. But without you there, things got shaky. The brothers are holding the line, but they need their president. They rode hard through morning traffic. The clubhouse was full when they arrived. Brothers from 3 different chapters had come in overnight. Word had spread about what was happening, and the Iron Wolves took care of their own. Elena was in the back room, pale but fierce. You're okay. She stood when he entered, then stopped herself. They said Victor had you arrested. He did. I got out. How? Help from unexpected places. Colt sat across from her. We need to talk about your baby. Hope. Elena's voice broke. I named her Hope. The nurses said she needs a name, something to fight for. Hope. That's beautiful. She's so small. Tears slipped down Elena's cheeks. 3 pounds, fighting for every breath, and Victor wants to take her, put her in some facility where I'll never see her again. That's not going to happen. You keep saying that, but Elena. Colt took her hands. I need you to listen to me. Everything I've learned in the last 12 hours, everything Webb told me, it changes things. We have a real chance here. Not just to protect Hope, but to bring down the whole Marsh family. How? The FBI. They're opening an investigation. All those crimes the Marsh family committed, all those people they hurt, it's finally catching up to them. But I need you to hold on a little longer. 48 hours. Can you do that? Elena stared at him. What happens in 48 hours? The feds come in, take over the case. Once that happens, Victor can't touch you. Can't touch Hope. The whole protective wall his family built comes crashing down. And if they don't come, they will. Assume. But if they don't, Colt was quiet for a moment. Then we run. I take you and Hope somewhere they'll never find you. New names, new life. It's not ideal, but it's survival. You'd do that. Give up everything. I'd do a lot more than that. He squeezed her hands. I made a promise when I pulled you out of that ditch. I don't break promises. The door opened. Butcher stepped in, face grim. Boss, we got movement at the front gate. 3 vehicles. Look like private security. Colt stood. How many men? At least a dozen. And boss? Butcher's voice tightened. Victor's with them. Elena's face went white. He found me. He was always going to find you. Colt pulled his gun from the holster Priest had brought him. But finding you and taking you are 2 different things. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me. He headed for the front. The clubhouse yard was chaos in slow motion. Iron wolves forming a defensive line, weapons visible but not raised. On the other side of the gate, Victor's security team spread out like a military formation, professional and cold. Victor stood in front, megaphone in hand. Mr. Brennan, I'm here to collect my wife and child. I have a court order signed by Judge Marsh granting me immediate custody. Resist and you'll be charged with kidnapping, obstruction, and criminal interference. Colt walked to the gate. Show me the order. A security guard passed a document through the fence. Colt read it once, then tore it in half. That order was issued by your father. It's not valid. Every order my father issues is valid in this county. Not anymore. Colt dropped the pieces. In about 36 hours, federal agents are going to arrive with warrants for your entire family. Your father, the sheriff, everyone who helped you try to murder your wife. This little performance, it's not going to save you. Victor's face changed. You're bluffing. Ask your father about Marcus Webb. Ask him about the files Webb's been keeping for 30 years. Ask him about the FBI field office in Richmond that's been waiting for exactly this opportunity. Something flickered in Victor's eyes. Fear. Real fear. You don't know what you're doing, Victor said, his voice losing its polish. You're going to destroy everything. Not just my family, everyone. The whole system. People depend on that system. People suffer under that system. Colt stepped closer to the gate. You tried to kill your wife for money. Your father sent my brother to prison for something he didn't do, then had him murdered to keep him quiet. How many others? How many people are dead or destroyed because your family decided they were inconvenient? That's not... It's exactly what it is, and it ends now. Victor's composure shattered. Take him, he screamed at his security team. Storm the gate. I want him in custody. The security guards hesitated. Sir, one of them said, we can't assault a private residence without... I don't care about legal, I care about results. Take him now. The guard looked at Colt, looked at the iron wolves behind him, looked at the weapons visible on both sides. No, sir. This isn't what we signed up for. Victor spun on him. I'm paying you. You work for me. Not for this. The guard stepped back. This looks like a civil war waiting to happen. We're security, not soldiers. One by one, the private security team withdrew. Victor stood alone at the gate, face purple with rage, fists clenched. This isn't over, he snarled. No, Colt agreed. It isn't, but when it's finished, you're going to be the one in a cell. And I'm going to visit. Just to watch you cry. Victor turned and walked to his car, slammed the door, drove away. Colt watched until the taillights disappeared. That was beautiful, Priest said from behind him. That was just round 1. Colt turned. Victor's desperate now. Desperate men do stupid things. We need everyone on high alert. Nobody in or out without clearance. And get Webb on the phone. We need those federal agents here faster. What about Elena? Colt looked toward the clubhouse. I'm going to tell her the truth. That we just declared war on the most powerful family in the county. He paused. And that we're going to win. He walked inside to find her. The next 36 hours would determine everything. And Colt Brennan was not going to lose. The call came at 3:47 a.m. Colt was half asleep in a chair outside Elena's room when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered on the second ring. "Mr. Brennan?" A woman's voice, professional, urgent. "This is Special Agent Rachel Torres, FBI, Richmond Field Office. Marcus Webb gave me your number." Colt sat up straight. "Agent Torres, I wasn't expecting to hear from you until tomorrow. Plans changed. We're moving tonight." "Tonight? What happened?" "Judge Marsh happened." Torres' voice was tight. "He just signed an emergency order transferring Elena Marsh to state psychiatric custody. Deputies are being dispatched as we speak. If we don't act now, she disappears into a system his family controls." "How long do we have?" 2 hours, maybe less." Colt was already on his feet. "What do you need from us?" "Keep her safe until we arrive. Federal agents are en route, but we're coming from Richmond. It's going to be close." "And Victor, arrest warrants are being prepared. For Victor, for Judge Marsh, for Sheriff Garrison. Everyone Webb documented." Torres paused. "But Brennan, if anything happens before we get there, if she ends up in state custody, there's nothing I can do. The whole case falls apart." "She won't." "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I don't." The line went dead. Colt burst into Elena's room. "Wake up. We need to move." Elena was already sitting up, eyes wide. "What's wrong?" "Your father-in-law just signed an order to take you. Deputies are coming." "No." The color drained from her face. "No, I can't." "You won't." Colt grabbed her arm, helped her stand. "FBI is on the way. We just need to buy time." "How much time?" 2 hours. "And if we can't, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure you're still free when they get here." Priest met them in the hallway. "Brothers are mobilizing. Butcher's got the trucks ready." "We're not running." Colt's voice was hard. "We run now, they call us fugitives. Elena loses everything." "Then what do? We stand." Colt looked at Elena. "And we make them come through us." The convoy arrived at 4:15 a.m. 6 sheriff's vehicles, lights flashing, sirens silent. They lined up outside the clubhouse gate like an army preparing for siege. Sheriff Garrison stepped out first, megaphone in hand. "This is the Ridgewater County Sheriff's Department. We have a lawful court order for the custody of Elena Marsh. Anyone who interferes will be arrested for obstruction of justice." 20 iron wolves stood between him and the clubhouse door. Colt walked to the front of the line. "That order was signed by a judge who's about to be arrested for corruption. It's not worth the paper it's printed on." "That's not for you to decide," Garrison's voice echoed. "Step aside or face consequences. The only consequences coming are for the people who've been protecting Victor Marsh. You included Sheriff." Garrison's jaw tightened. "Last warning, Brennan. Move or we move you." "Come try." For a long moment, nobody breathed. Then Garrison turned to his deputies. "Breach the gate." The first deputy stepped forward with bolt cutters. Elena appeared at Colt's shoulder. "Colt, maybe we should stay behind me." "I can't let you all get hurt because of Elena." He turned, gripping her shoulders. "You spent 5 years believing you weren't worth fighting for. Look around. Every one of these men chose to be here. They know the risks. They know what's at stake, and not one of them is leaving." Tears streamed down her face. "Why?" "Because some things matter more than safety. You matter. Your daughter matters. The truth matters." He wiped her cheek with his thumb. "Now stay behind me, and let us do what we do." The gate crashed open. Deputies poured through. Colt didn't move. "You want her?" His voice carried across the yard. "Come take her." Garrison stepped forward, hand on his weapon. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "It's already hard. Your boss tried to murder his wife for insurance money. His father's been covering up crimes for 30 years, and you've been helping them the whole time. That's not, isn't it? Colt pulled out his phone. Want to see the pictures? The brake lines that were cut. The fingerprints on the steering wheel. All the evidence that proves Victor was driving the night he pushed Elena out of that car. Garrison hesitated. That evidence was obtained illegally. By me, not by the FBI agents who are about to arrive with federal warrants. Colt smiled coldly. See, that's the thing about corruption. It only works when everyone stays quiet. The moment one person talks, the whole thing collapses, and people are talking sheriff, more than you know. Something shifted in Garrison's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Colt stepped closer. Marcus Webb has files on every dirty deal your department has made for the Marsh family. Witnesses you buried, evidence you destroyed, payments you received. When the feds get here and they're coming, your career isn't just over. Your freedom is. I was following orders. Following orders didn't save anyone at Nuremberg. It won't save you either. Garrison's hand trembled on his weapon. I could arrest you right now. End this whole thing. You could try. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Is Judge Marsh going to protect you when the FBI comes knocking? Or is he going to throw you under the bus to save himself? Silence stretched between them. Then a deputy's radio crackled. Sheriff, we've got additional vehicles approaching. Multiple SUVs, government plates. Everyone turned. 3 black SUVs rolled toward the clubhouse federal insignias visible on the doors. The FBI had arrived. Agent Torres stepped out, first badge, displayed authority radiating from every step. Sheriff Garrison, I'm Special Agent Rachel Torres, FBI. This property is now under federal protection. Stand down your officers immediately. Garrison's face went gray. You don't have jurisdiction here. I have jurisdiction everywhere. Torres held up a folder. Federal warrants for Judge Warren Marsh, Victor Marsh, and Sheriff Roy Garrison. Charges include conspiracy to commit murder, corruption, obstruction of justice, and civil rights violations. This is outrageous. This is justice. Torres turned to her agents. Take him into custody. 2 agents moved toward Garrison. You can't do this, he sputtered. I have rights. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. Torres nodded to her agents. Get him out of here. They led Garrison away. Colt exhaled. Elena grabbed his arm. Is it over? Is it really over? Not yet. Colt looked at Torres. Victor. We have units at his residence now. He won't get far. And the baby. Hospital is secured. Federal marshals are protecting the NICU. Torres' expression softened. Your daughter is safe, Mrs. Marsh. No one is taking her. Elena's knees buckled. Colt caught her. Easy. I've got you. She's safe. Elena was sobbing now, 5 years of terror releasing all at once. Hope is safe. Yeah. Colt held her tight. She is. The arrest of Victor Marsh happened at 5:23 a.m. Colt wasn't there to see it, but Priest called with the details. Victor had tried to run, packed a bag, headed for the private airstrip his family owned. Federal agents were waiting. He cried, Priest said. Actually cried when they put the cuffs on. Kept saying his father would fix it. His father's in the cell next to him. Beautiful, isn't it? 30 years of corruption, and it all falls apart in one night. It fell apart because Elena survived. Colt looked at her sleeping form on the clubhouse couch. Everything they built, everything they protected, one woman's courage brought it down. What happens now? Now she heals, the baby heals, and the courts sort out the mess. And us? Colt smiled tiredly. We get back to being the outlaws everyone thinks we are. The days that followed blurred together. Federal agents swarmed Ridgewater County like locusts, uncovering decades of buried crimes. Judge Marsh's files revealed payoffs to police prosecutors and politicians. Witnesses who'd been silenced for years came forward to tell their stories. The Marsh family empire crumbled in real time. Elena testified twice, once for federal investigators, once for a grand jury. Each time she walked in terrified and walked out stronger. Colt was there for both. "I keep expecting to wake up," she told him after the grand jury returned indictments. "Like this is all some dream, and any minute Victor will walk through that door." "He's not walking anywhere." Colt handed her a coffee. "Federal detention, no bail. Even his family's lawyers couldn't argue that one. And his father, same. Turns out when you've spent 30 years making enemies, you don't have many friends when things go wrong." Elena wrapped her hands around the cup. "Marcus Webb came to see me yesterday." "What did he say?" "He apologized for not acting sooner, for watching my mother suffer and not being able to stop it." Her voice cracked. "He said he'd been gathering evidence for decades, waiting for the right moment, the right case." "You were that case. I was the one who survived." She looked at Colt. "Because of you. Because of you. I just gave you time. You gave me more than that." She set down the coffee. "You gave me something to believe in, something I'd forgotten existed." "What's that? Good people." Her eyes were wet. "People who do the right thing even when it costs them everything." I didn't know that was real anymore. Colt didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. Some truths didn't need words. A week later, Elena held her daughter for the first time. Hope had been in the NICU for 12 days, 3 pounds at birth, fighting for every breath. But she was a fighter the nurses said they'd never seen a preemie with so much determination. Colt stood outside the NICU window, watching. Elena cradled Hope against her chest, tears streaming, lips moving in whispered promises only the two of them could hear. The baby's tiny hand gripped Elena's finger, holding on like she'd never let go. Priest appeared beside him. "Beautiful, isn't it?" "Yeah, you love her." Colt was quiet for a long moment. "I love what she represents. Strength, survival, second chances." He paused. "I don't know if that's the same thing." "Close enough?" "Maybe." Inside, Elena looked up, caught his eye through the glass, smiled real and warm and full of something that looked like hope. He smiled back. "What happens now?" Priest asked. "She heals, raises her daughter, rebuilds her life. And you, I go back to being president of the Iron Wolves." Colt turned away from the window. "This isn't a fairy tale, brother. I'm not the prince who rides off into the sunset." "Could be. Could be a lot of things. But she needs stability now. Safety. A life that doesn't involve outlaws and enemies and people trying to kill her. And if she wants something different." Colt didn't answer. Some questions weren't his to answer. The trial of Victor Marsh lasted 3 weeks. Elena testified for 2 days. She told the jury everything: the years of abuse, the isolation the night Victor drove her off the road and left her for dead. She didn't cry, didn't waver, just spoke the truth in a voice that carried through the courtroom like steel. The defense tried everything. They attacked her mental health, her credibility, her relationship with Colt and the Iron Wolves. They painted her as an unstable woman who'd invented stories to escape a marriage she no longer wanted. None of it stuck. The jury convicted Victor on all counts in 4 hours: attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy, assault. Judge Warren Marsh was convicted separately. Corruption, obstruction, civil rights violations. The man who'd ruled Ridgewater County for 30 years was led away in handcuffs, his empire reduced to rubble. Sheriff Garrison flipped, turned state's evidence in exchange for reduced charges. His testimony confirmed everything Marcus Webb had documented: the payoffs, the buried cases, the systematic protection of the Marsh family's crimes. By the time the trials ended, Ridgewater County had a new sheriff, a new prosecutor, and a new beginning. Colt watched the news coverage from the clubhouse. Elena appeared on screen, leaving the courthouse after the final verdict. Reporters swarmed her. Cameras flashed. She stopped at the bottom of the steps and spoke directly into the microphones. 5 years ago, I believed I had no voice. I believed no one would listen, no one would help, no one would care. I was wrong. Her eyes found the camera. There are people in this world who will stand up for strangers, who will risk everything to protect someone they've never met. I'm alive today because of those people. My daughter is alive because of them. A reporter shouted a question. Are you talking about the Iron Wolves, MC? Elena smiled. I'm talking about good people. They exist. Sometimes they wear suits, sometimes they wear badges, and sometimes they wear leather jackets and ride motorcycles. She paused. The world told me to be afraid of them. The world was wrong. She walked away from the cameras. Colt turned off the TV. Priest was watching him. You should go to her. She knows where to find me. That's not the same thing. It's going to have to be. Priest shook his head. You're the bravest man I know when it comes to fighting. But when it comes to this, you're a coward. Maybe. Definitely. Colt said nothing. Some truths were too heavy to argue with. 3 days later, Elena came to him. She walked into the clubhouse like she belonged there, hope cradled against her chest. The brothers parted for her without a word. Colt was in the back room cleaning his bike. She stopped in the doorway. You didn't come to the verdict. Didn't think you needed me there. I did. She stepped closer. I wanted you there. Elena, let me finish. Her voice was steady, certain. You saved my life. You saved my daughter's life. You stood between me and everyone who wanted to destroy me. And then you walked away like none of it mattered. It all mattered. Then why are you hiding? Colt set down the rag. Because I'm not what you need. I'm an outlaw. A biker. A man with enemies and a past that doesn't wash clean. You deserve better than that. Don't I get to decide what I deserve? You deserve a normal life. A safe life. Not this, Elena laughed. You think I want normal? After everything I survived. She moved closer, hope stirring in her arms. Normal is what Victor promised me. Normal is the cage they built around me. Normal almost killed me. This isn't a cage. It's chaos. It's freedom. She touched his face. Real, messy, complicated freedom. And I choose it. I choose the man who pulled me out of a ditch and never stopped fighting for me. Colt's throat tightened. I'm not good at this. At what? Being wanted. Then learn, she smiled. We've got time. Hope opened her eyes and gurgled. Elena held her up toward Colt. She wants to meet you properly, the man who made sure she had a chance to live. Colt took the baby carefully, like she was made of glass and starlight. 3 pounds had become 6. Tiny fists had become strong grips. Eyes that had been closed in a NICU incubator now stared up at him with impossible trust. Hey, little one, he whispered. I'm Colt. I'm going to be around for a while, if that's okay with you. Hope grabbed his finger. held on tight. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Colt Brennan felt something inside him break open. Something that felt like hope itself. 6 months changed everything and nothing. Elena stood in the clubhouse kitchen, Hope balanced on her hip, watching Colt argue with Priest over a delivery schedule. The baby grabbed at her mother's hair, giggling at sounds she didn't understand, but loved anyway. "You can't run a charity ride through Miller's Pass," Priest was saying. "Roads washed out from the spring floods. Then we reroute through Hollow Creek. That adds 40 minutes. Then we leave 40 minutes earlier." Colt's voice carried the easy authority of a man who'd stopped questioning his own decisions. "These women are counting on us. We don't show up late because of inconvenience." Elena smiled. The Iron Wolves had transformed in the months since Victor's conviction. What started as protection for one woman had become something bigger, a network of safe houses, transport routes, and support systems for domestic violence survivors across 3 counties. It had been Elena's idea. "If you could save me," she'd told Colt 2 months ago, "you can save others. We just need to build the road." They'd built it. Now every week the Iron Wolves escorted women from dangerous situations to safety. No judgment, no questions, just protection when protection mattered most. "Elena." Tess appeared in the doorway. "Phone call. Sarah Chen." Elena handed Hope to Colt, who took her with the practiced ease of a man who'd changed more diapers than he ever expected. The baby immediately grabbed at his beard, and he winced. "She's got your grip," he muttered. "She's got your stubbornness." Elena took the call in the back office. "Sarah, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Sarah's voice was warm, excited. "Something's right. Very right. Tell me." "The state just approved your non-profit application. The Elena Marsh Foundation for Domestic Violence Survivors is officially recognized. Tax-exempt status, the whole thing." Elena's legs gave out. She sat down hard. "Say that again." "You did it. Everything you've been working toward, the shelters, the legal aid, the transportation network, it's real now. It's official." Tears streamed down Elena's face. "I never thought, you never thought you'd survive. Then you never thought you'd escape. Then you never thought you'd see Victor convicted." Sarah laughed. "Elena, you've been proving people wrong since the day I met you. Why stop now? Because it still doesn't feel real." "It's real. I'm holding the paperwork." Sarah paused. "There's one more thing." "What?" "The State Attorney General's office called. They want you to speak at a conference next month. Domestic violence awareness. They want you to tell your story to lawmakers, advocates, survivors." Sarah's voice softened. "They want you to change policy." Elena couldn't speak. 6 months ago, she'd been crawling through mud and glass, praying for strangers to save her. Now strangers were asking her to save others. "Elena, you still there?" "I'm here." She wiped her eyes. "Tell them yes. Tell them I'll be there." "I knew you would." The line went dead. Elena sat in the silence for a long moment. Then she walked back to the kitchen. Colt looked up, saw her face. "Good news or bad?" "The foundation was approved." Her voice cracked. "It's official. We can help people. Really help them." Colt's face broke into a smile, rare and genuine and beautiful. "That's my girl." He crossed to her, pulled her close with his free arm, hope squished happily between them. "You did this," he said against her hair. "All of it. Don't forget that. We did this. You started it. We just followed." Hope grabbed at both their faces, demanding attention. Elena laughed. For the first time in years, the sound felt natural. The conference was held in Richmond in a building that smelled of power and paper and decades of decisions. Elena walked in wearing a dress she'd bought with her own money, the first purchase she'd made since Victor's accounts were frozen. It was simple. Dark blue? Professional. She felt like a fraud. "You're going to be great." Colt squeezed her hand. He'd come despite her protests, wearing the cleanest shirt he owned and jeans without holes. "Just tell the truth. That's all you've ever done. What if they don't listen? Then they're fools, and fools don't last in positions of power." He kissed her forehead. "Go change some minds." She walked into the conference room. 300 people. Lawmakers, advocates, survivors. All watching her approach the podium. Her hands shook. She gripped the microphone. "6 months ago," she began, "I was left for dead in a ditch by the man who promised to love me." The room went silent. He was powerful, connected, protected by a system that valued his family's name over my safety. For 5 years, I believed I had no way out, no voice, no hope. She paused. I was wrong. She told them everything. The abuse, the isolation, the night Victor drove her off the road, the strangers who stopped when no one else would. They weren't heroes from a movie, she said. They were bikers, outlaws, men the world told me to fear. But when I was bleeding in that ditch, they didn't see a stranger. They saw a human being who needed help, and they helped. Tears ran down faces throughout the room. The system that was supposed to protect me failed. Police failed. Courts failed. Everyone with the power to stop what was happening chose not to. Her voice hardened. But ordinary people didn't fail. Ordinary people stood up, and because of them, I'm alive. My daughter is alive. And I'm standing here today asking you to be ordinary people too. She looked out at the crowd. Create systems that listen to victims. Fund shelters that can actually protect. Train law enforcement to recognize the signs. And most importantly, believe women when they tell you they're in danger, because by the time there's proof, it's often too late. She stepped back from the microphone. Silence. Then applause. It started slow, scattered. Then it built, growing louder, spreading through the room like a wave. Elena stood frozen, overwhelmed. A woman in the front row stood up. Then another. Then a dozen. Then the entire room. Standing ovation. For her. For a woman who'd crawled through glass 6 months ago believing no one would ever listen. Elena bowed her head. Let the tears fall. And finally understood what it meant to be free. The drive back to Ridgewater was quiet. Hope slept in her car seat. Colt drove with one hand on the wheel, the other holding Elena's. You were incredible, he said. I was terrified. Same thing sometimes. She watched the highway slide past. 3 lawmakers came up to me afterward, said they're sponsoring a bill based on my testimony. Increased funding for shelters, mandatory training for police, real consequences for judges who dismiss domestic violence cases. That's because of you. That's because of everyone. You, the club, Sarah, Marcus Webb, all the people who chose to fight when they didn't have to. We had to. Colt's grip tightened on her hand. Some things you can't walk away from. But you could have. That's what makes it matter. He was quiet for a long moment. I spent 15 years angry, he finally said. After Danny died, after the Marsh family destroyed everything I thought I believed in. I told myself I was fighting for justice, but really I was just fighting, looking for someone to punish. And now Now I know the difference. He glanced at her. You taught me that. Justice isn't about hurting the people who hurt you. It's about making sure they can't hurt anyone else. Elena squeezed his hand. When did you get so wise? Around the time a pregnant woman crawled out of a ditch and reminded me what courage looks like. Hope stirred in the back seat. Made a small sound. Elena turned to check on her, and her breath caught. The baby's eyes were open. Watching her mother with the steady, trusting gaze that had carried her through 3 pounds of fragile beginning to the strong, growing child she was becoming. Hey, little one, Elena whispered. We're almost home. Home. The word felt different now. It didn't mean a place. It meant people. The clubhouse had transformed. What was once a gathering spot for bikers had become something else, a headquarters for the Elena Marsh Foundation. The main room still had the pool table, the bar, the memorial photos of fallen brothers. But now there were also filing cabinets, phone banks, and a wall covered with photos of survivors. Women who'd been saved. Families who'd been reunited. Lives that had been rebuilt. Elena stood before that wall on a Tuesday morning studying the faces. 47, Priest said, appearing beside her. That's how many people we've helped since we started. 47 women and children who got out because of what we built. It's not enough. It's never enough, but it's 47 more than 0. He handed her a coffee. You meeting with the new volunteers today? In an hour. 6 women from the Richmond shelter. They want to train as counselors. Good. We need more hands. We need more everything. More money, more space, more time. Elena sighed. Sometimes I wonder if we're making any difference at all. You remember Sarah's call last week? The teenager from Westbrook, 15 years old, watched her mother get beaten for a decade. Finally found the courage to call the hotline you set up. Priest met her eyes. That girl is alive because you answered the phone at 2 in the morning. She's alive because you told her help was coming and then made sure it came. Elena's throat tightened. I remember. Then stop wondering if you're making a difference. You are. Every single day. He walked away. Elena looked back at the wall. 47 faces, 47 stories, 47 reasons to keep going. She finished her coffee and went to meet the volunteers. The first anniversary of Elena's rescue came on a rainy Thursday. The club threw a party, if you could call a gathering of bikers' lawyers, FBI agents, and domestic violence survivors a party. It was loud, chaotic, and full of people who'd become family through crisis. Elena stood at the center of it, hope on her hip, watching the unlikely community she'd somehow built. Marcus Webb was there, old and proud, showing photos of his grandchildren to anyone who'd look. Sarah Chen argued legal strategy with Agent Torres in a corner. Tess organized the food table with military precision, while Butcher made faces at the children. And Colt stood beside her, solid and steady the way he'd been since the beginning. Happy anniversary, he said quietly. Is that what this is? It's what you make it. He slipped an arm around her waist. 1 year ago, you were dying in a ditch. Tonight, you're surrounded by people who love you. I'd call that progress. I'd call it a miracle. Same thing sometimes. Hope reached for Colt, and he took her without hesitation. The baby settled against his chest like she belonged there, which Elena supposed she did. She's getting heavy, Colt said. She's getting strong. Like her mother. Elena leaned into him. I never thanked you properly. For what? For stopping. That night on the highway. You could have driven past. Everyone else did. No. His voice was firm. Everyone else didn't see you. We did. And once you see someone in trouble, you can't unsee them. You can only choose what to do about it. And you chose to help. I chose to be human. He kissed her forehead. The rest followed. Priest clinked a glass nearby, calling for attention. All right, everyone. I know we're not big on speeches around here, but tonight's special. 1 year ago, we pulled a woman out of a ditch and changed all our lives. Elena, you want to say something? All eyes turned to her. Elena stepped forward, hope still in Colt's arms. I used to think strength meant surviving alone, she said. Enduring, never asking for help. That's what I was taught. That's what I believed. She paused. I was wrong. She looked around the room. Strength is asking for help and accepting it when it comes. Strength is trusting strangers when everyone you trusted has failed you. Strength is building something new from the ashes of something terrible. Her voice cracked. And strength is standing in a room full of people who showed me that goodness exists even in the darkest places. Tess wiped her eyes. 1 year ago, I was alone. Tonight, I have a family. Not by blood, by choice. And that's the most powerful thing any of us can be. Elena raised her glass. To chosen family. To second chances. And to every single person who refuses to look away when someone needs help. The room raised their glasses. To chosen family. The toast echoed through the clubhouse, and Elena finally understood what it meant to belong. Weeks later, the letter came. Elena found it in the Foundation's mail, a plain envelope with no return address, postmarked from a federal detention facility. She knew immediately who it was from. Her hands shook as she opened it. Elena, I know you'll probably burn this without reading it. I would if I were you. But I need to say something, even if you never hear it. I was wrong. About everything. About you. About what I deserved. About what I thought power meant. I'm going to spend the rest of my life in this cell thinking about what I did. What I almost did. And I need you to know I'm glad I failed. I'm glad you survived. I'm glad your daughter will grow up knowing what real strength looks like. You were always stronger than me. I just couldn't admit it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to know that somewhere in this darkness, I finally understand what I destroyed. I hope hope grows up to be just like you. Victor Elena read the letter 3 times. Then she walked to the fireplace. Watched it burn. Felt nothing. Colt found her there an hour later. You okay? Victor wrote me. Colt tensed. What did he say? He said he was wrong. He said he's glad I survived. Elena turned to face him. He said he hopes hope grows up to be like me. And I burned it. She smiled faintly. Because it doesn't matter. His regret, his understanding, his hope. None of it changes what he did. None of it gives me back the years I lost. Then why are you still standing here? Elena was quiet for a long moment. Because for a second, just a second, I felt sorry for him. Locked in a cell, finally understanding what he destroyed. Knowing he'll never touch his daughter. Never see her grow up. She shook her head. Then I remembered every bruise, every lie, every time he made me believe I was worthless, and the pity disappeared. Good. Is it? She looked at him. Sometimes I wonder if I'm becoming hard, cold, if surviving him turned me into something I'm not supposed to be. Colt took her hands. You're not hard. You're healed. There's a difference. He pulled her close. Hard people don't build foundations to save strangers. Hard people don't cry at happy endings. Hard people don't love as fiercely as you love hope. You're not hard, Elena. You're whole. Finally. After everything. Tears slipped down her cheeks. When did you get so good at this? I had a good teacher. He held her until the fire burned low, until the last of Victor's words turned to ash, until the past finally let go. The ride happened on a Sunday. Elena sat behind Colt on his Harley Hope, secured in the chase van with Tess and the other children. The convoy stretched behind them, 30 bikes rumbling through the morning light, heading toward the shelter in Westbrook. Today's mission escort 5 families to new safe housing. Elena had done this a dozen times now. Still, her heart raced every time. "You ready?" Colt called over his shoulder. "Always." The convoy rolled into Westbrook at noon. The shelter was small, crowded, full of women with haunted eyes and children who'd learned too young to be quiet. Elena walked in first, Colt, and the brothers hanging back. This part was hers. A woman approached, mid-30s bruises fading on her cheek, a toddler clutched to her chest. "You're Elena Marsh." "I am. I saw you on the news. After your husband—" The woman stopped. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm telling you this." "Because you recognize me." Elena took her hand. "I was where you are. Exactly where you are. Scared and broken and sure no one would help. And they did." Elena turned, gestured to the convoy visible through the window. "They did, and now they're going to help you." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve—" "Yes, you do." Elena squeezed her hand. "You survived. That's the only qualification you need." The evacuation took 3 hours. 5 families, 12 children, 18 bags packed with everything they owned. The brothers carried it all, made jokes to ease the tension, let the kids sit on their bikes and pretend to ride. By sunset, all 5 families were settled in safe housing miles away. Elena stood outside the last house, watching a mother tuck her children into beds they'd never have to flee. Colt appeared beside her. "Good day. The best day. Next week. 2 more families, Ridgewater and Miller's Pass." He nodded. "Then we keep going. Until we don't have to anymore. That'll never happen." "I know." Elena turned to face him. "But we keep going anyway, because that's what we do." Colt smiled. "That's what we do." They walked back to the convoy together. Hope was awake in the van, babbling happily at Tess. Elena lifted her daughter, held her close. "You see that baby girl? All those families, all those children, they're safe, because people cared enough to help." Hope gurgled. "Someday you're going to understand what that means. And when you do, I hope you'll be one of those people. The ones who stop when others drive past. The ones who fight when others look away." Colt put his arm around them both. "She will be." "How do you know?" "Because she's got you for a mother." He kissed Elena's temple. "And that's the best head start anyone could ask for." The convoy started its engines. 30 bikes roared to life. Elena climbed into the van, Hope in her arms, heart full of everything she'd never dared to dream. The road stretched ahead, endless and open. And for the first time in her life, Elena Marsh wasn't running from something. She was running toward it. Toward hope, toward purpose, toward a future she'd built with her own 2 hands and the help of people who refused to look away. The world had tried to break her. It had failed. Because some women don't break. They bend. They survive. They rise. And then they reach back to lift everyone behind them. Elena Marsh was one of those women. And she was just getting started.